is Counterattack, and I just received a new game, Invasions, Volume 1, 350 to 650 AD. This is a game from Philippe Thibault. Hopefully I said his name somewhat correctly, and the company Wisdom Owl. Philippe, you may be familiar with Europa Universalis. He made that board game. He's a designer of it, but I think most people are probably familiar with it from the computer game. And then also, I'm familiar with La Grande Guerre, which is a World War I game that's my greatest regret in parting ways with. So I'm still looking to buy that, buy it back. But anyway, let's do a little unboxing here. I've seen at least one unboxing of this. I think the Player's Aid did one, and maybe someone else. But they didn't have the expansions, and I picked up the 2 expansions that came out with the Kickstarter. I didn't kickstart it, I bought it secondhand, but yeah, let's take the plastic wrap off and check it out. Okay, here we are. Let's see if I can get this box off. I'm at a weird angle because I don't have a real good setup. I'm balancing my camera on a stack of books. But I was going to say there's a lot of French language on this because it's both produced in English and French. The company and designer, I assume, are French. Wow, look at that. That's pretty. So it looks like, yeah, we got our little rule book. You know, I might show a few things here, but nice little rule book. Appendices. All right, go check those out in a minute. Okay, yeah, looks like it's like different scenarios and maybe factions. It says Romans there. Okay. Ooh, so we've got our counters here. They are pre-rounded, which is nice. I might have to sand off the little nubs on the ends, but yeah, they pop really nice. Some more. So the red, I believe, are Roman or Byzantine. So this game is basically starts in Roman times, I believe, and depicts basically the quote barbarian invasions over several hundred years. And Volume 1 extends it by another few hundred years. Of course, the barbarians probably didn't consider themselves barbarians, but I guess that's from a Roman point of view. And a lot of counters. Let's see, what is this? I don't recognize those names. Oh, Shapur. So I think these are the Sassanids, the Persians, basically. Reason I got this game is, well, I like games and history, but I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately, and I went through the History of Rome podcast, loved it. And so it really covered a lot of the topic of this game. And then I've also been listening to the History of English, which is more of a history, more about like the history and movement of peoples than English in many ways, but and so this topic is also covered, especially like the Anglo-Saxons and Vikings. So hopefully I'll get what I want out of this, but just kind of, you know, cruising through these. Lots of different peoples, looks like. Lots of armies. I believe the way the game plays, it reminds me of, you know, I've skimmed the rules. It reminds me of History of the World a little bit, where each player doesn't play a single faction. They play many factions, and sort of things evolve over time, like empires come and go. So it looks like we have some score sheets. Yep. Oh, all right. So we got some cards for different empires. I'm gonna like look through each of these and see if there's anything of note to show. These things are reminding me a little bit of La Grande Guerre, where like each faction had its own like playbook. Like, hey, if you're the Austro-Hungarians, here's everything you need to know about them, which honestly kind of for me made that learning that game difficult. So hopefully this isn't the same. All right, got some maps. It's a pretty deep box. I'm guessing there's like a tray underneath, but I'm afraid of breaking it from the angle I'm standing at awkwardly, so I'm going to pull it out separately. Cool, there is a tray underneath. I suspect if I can fit GMT counter trays in here, I will remove that, otherwise we're going bags. Some custom dice, looks like, with one 10-sided die, a couple 10-sided dice. Event cards, check those out in a minute. And then these look like faction cards. Wow, there's a lot of them. I mean, it looks awesome. The artwork's awesome too. I don't like it when rules are spread all over the place. So maybe that won't be the case here though. All right, let's go get the map. I'm gonna unfold it carefully. Wow, so I've seen pictures of the map. They didn't look too attractive, but in person it's very nice. I don't know if it'll come across in film, but it's very pretty. The colors are the terrain, which I like. It makes it more natural, and I guess since the empires are going to be shifting constantly, it wouldn't make sense to color it by political boundaries. There was a series of videos, I think the channel's just like called Jeff, where he kind of learned the rules as he went, and he kind of complained about not being able to see regions, like I guess these are like provinces, and then multiple provinces make a region. Looking at it, it doesn't look too bad to me. It might not come across in film, but like in Greece, it has this is a region, I guess. I don't know what the actual game term is, but I'll call it a region, which is composed of different Greek provinces, I'll call them. And there is a border here marking where Greece is. It's little like pink hash marks. They are somewhat dim, I guess. They don't contrast with the underlying map, but they're not as bad as I expected from his description. And not only can I see them, but having the region in bold, or I guess uppercase, helps as well. So not too bad. One thing I don't like about map designs, or there's a kind of map design that I don't like, and that is when the counters don't fit in the spaces. And obviously there's a trade-off because the designer wanted lots of spaces. The counter is bigger than a bunch of them, but it doesn't look too bad. There's not going to be any ambiguities as far as I can see. So cool. This thing's very pretty. So it goes, it starts in Roman times, I guess maybe like late Roman times when the walls start getting breached along the border. It goes basically Roman Empire around the Mediterranean to the western edge, or maybe the middle of Persia. I'm calling it Persia, but it was, I think they're the Sassanids. I'm not sure if I'm remembering the exact way to say their name, but essentially Persia. So there's an expansion that goes off the edge here, which is cool, because I'm pretty sure Rome, maybe not. Maybe Rome did not go beyond Mesopotamia here, but it'll be cool, because I know Persia extends all the way to India at this time. All right, enough of that. Maybe we'll take a look at some of the more detailed items. Okay, these things. I wasn't really sure what they are. It turns out it's a player, I'll call it the faction aid. So there are 4 factions in the game. I guess, there's different scenarios, but the main campaign game, there's 4 factions, and one is called the Huns. And so this is like all the special rules about the Huns, I guess. But calling it the Huns it's sort of like the major player of that faction. But if you look in here, it looks like, let's see if I can get this in, but the Hun player gets to play all these guys, I believe. So Arabs, Berbers, Alemanni, and so on. So I'm trying to see if is there any rhyme or reason to them going together? Like Huns and Arabs doesn't seem to go together to me, but Huns and Alemanni, they cover parts of the same area, I don't know. But maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe the idea is each player is supposed to have a mishmash of cultures and try to score points that way. And in terms of points, you can see, I believe this is saying hey, if the Saxons create a kingdom in Britannia, which they did historically, they get 10 points, I think that's what that is. And so on. Each raid, they get 1 or 3 points. So, and you can see the points change over time. Looks like it might be a 10-turn game. normally. Oh, the Angles merged with the Saxons. So I think there's going to be a lot of historical flavor in this game. That's what I was hoping for. So cool. Let's see, back of this. This looks more generic. Okay, so like each player would have one of these in front of them, and it's got everything they need. Cool. Okay, so that thing was like the faction player aid, I guess. Now, I think these are the nations within each faction. So there's green for the Huns, red for the red guys, and yellow and gray. And looks like there's some hybrid one in here. So like I think I mentioned the Arabs were on that one. So just looks like they have a force pool, some interesting activities to do, and ways to score victory points. Again, the back is blank. Okay. Interesting. This is all in English? Yeah. Wonder if there's 2 copies of each, or I just happen to have an English version of the game. The Hiberni, not familiar with them, but the Saxons I am familiar with. They have a horde. Love the artwork. Each one's got some nice artwork. Okay, so yeah, so these victory points are more complicated. And it looks like this might be the same stuff that was on the player aid, but over here it talks about getting reinforcements. So it looks like every one of these has a little bit of historical scripting to it, which is neat. Swebby, I think those are Switzerland types. I might be wrong. But man, there's a lot of these. I don't know if you use them all in the campaign. I'm guessing you do. And then there are smaller scenarios. All right. So there's 2 event decks. So there's a light colored one and a dark one. So the light one, just kind of skimming through here. So they all have some symbology up here. I assume means something. Text. They all look kind of generic. So these are, a lot of games have these. It's like, surprise, I have archers. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but some complicated ones, assassination attempt. But yeah, they look very generic. I don't think I saw any repeats, which is something that kind of annoys me when there's events and then you end up having like 4 repeats of them. But I like more flavor over consistency, I guess. This one's not very flavorful, dice. But most of these, look interesting. The mobilized horde, imperator. Yeah, looks pillages and orgies. All right, this looks like some fun stuff. I like cards like this where you have a battle system that's straightforward, and then you can use cards to mix it up a little. Makes things a little more random, but both sides have cards, so you can plan for it. Darker event deck. These look different. They do have lots of repeats. Sorry. A lot of text. They seem to be political, maybe. Yeah. They're. I mean, I still have to read the rules, but maybe. Yeah, they kind of seem political, or maybe just like the spirit of your government. Well, so interesting. Looks like that'll. I don't know what they're for, but looks like there's some good stuff for them. Okay, how about a little close up on the counters? The only thing I really wanted to show here is that I haven't gone through every counter or anything, but it looks like each culture, like the Angli, which are the Angles, I assume, the Burgundy, these are all sort of Germanic tribes. They all have unique artwork. As far as I can tell, I haven't seen repeats. Maybe there's some like Roman factions or something that have the same looks, but that's pretty nice. So I see the leaders of a faction repeat. So they don't have a unique portrait, but they're unique across factions. Yeah, I like that. I like just the variety. I know it's just art, but I like pretty games. Okay, rule book. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but just it's a glossy rule book. Looks well laid out. There's like a version of the rules I downloaded that does not look like this at all. It's like just unformatted Word doc or something. But I later found this version online. So, yeah, it's very nice. I mean, there's a lot here, though. You can see it's just paragraphs of bullet points, right? It's quite possible just the layout makes it look extremely dense, but I suspect it is just extremely dense. And like I mentioned earlier, I skimmed the rules, but I'm just like, oh look, you can get income. Oh, there's stacking rules. That's my level of detail I've gone into. Yeah, it's gonna take some doing, I think, to crunch through this. There's a lot to it. But okay, here's some good battle examples. Looks like your battles end up being fairly large. And those custom dice, looks like there's different mechanisms for the die faces. All right, so sieges, alliances, vassalage. Yeah, cool. All right. Okay, now the other book that comes with it, the Appendices. So scenario 1, I think that might be the campaign scenario. Oh yeah, and here it shows the factions. So okay, so one faction's the Romans, the Persians, the Goths, and the Huns. But the Goths are just like a bunch of, quote, barbarians and Bavarians. Ostrogoths, okay, and Visigoths, that makes sense. And the Huns seem like just a mix of peoples. The Khazars do come from roughly where the Huns come from, but the Berbers don't. So okay, so they just seem to be kind of a mix. The Romans are the Western Romans, and the Byzantines are Eastern Romans. So that's interesting. So they're Rome's. This is at the time when Rome is split up. Oh, Gallo-Romans too. Okay, so Rome's really split up. Although I guess this might happen over time. Oof, this is the timetable. Wow. Yeah, I might find this a little annoying, but we'll see when it comes to play, like just all the different player aids you have to go through. But maybe, some of these things are on the faction or nation cards, and this is just putting them all together, I'm not sure. Looks like an event table. Sorry, my filming is awful. I apologize. 28 events, looks like. That's cool. I don't know if those are the cards. Those are probably the cards. Okay, they're explanations of the cards. I thought it was a table to roll on. Okay, whew. Stuff about the Romans, so I wonder, hopefully these are the same things on the player aid, but it might actually be more. This kind of looks just like it's a combination of all those other player aids. All right, that's cool. Makes it easier just to sit back and read. And there's a copy of the scoring. Okay, cool. Oh, one thing. This has a single scenario in it, I believe. I believe the Kickstarter was supposed to have many scenarios, and they never produced the scenario book. It is online for download. I found it. That is disappointing. And since I didn't Kickstarter it, that probably means if they do produce it, I will never get it. But I'm gonna see what I can do. But that was a quick overview of the game. It does look really interesting. It's a little scary at the same time. But let me bust out these expansions as well. So the first expansion, or one of the expansions, I don't know which one came first, but this one's called Before the Invasions. And so it starts in 250 AD and goes to 350 AD. And the base game starts in 350 AD. So this just tacks on 100 years on the front. Yeah, let me take this out of here. Okay, so yeah, it looks like, I believe you can just start playing this as a standalone scenario, essentially. It starts, I read somewhere in here, like, it's basically like, these barbarian invasions, like, weren't really successful, but they could have been, against the Romans, I think, mostly. But it has some things I'm familiar with from the History of Rome podcast, the Tetrarchy, the Palmyrene Kingdom, and so on. So I think, oh, Gallic Empire, yeah, there. So I think this will be another set of flavorful historical things. And once you finish this, I think you can just keep on going into the next, into the campaign. So this one is French and English. The French is reversed. What do we got here? Okay, so there's some new factions. The Quadi, I remember those guys. Romani. So I guess there's a customed version of the Roman Empire at this time, maybe. Palmyrines and the Gallic Empire. Oh yeah, remember that guy, Postumus. Okay, cool. And then this expansion comes with more counters. So I guess, yeah, that's the Palmyrines. Cool. And that's it. So that's all I know about it. Like, just extends the game a little bit. Now for this other expansion, Into the East. Let's get this out of the bag. Okay, even more rules. It says, unless otherwise stated, the rules below apply to the Invasions Volume 1 and 2 games. So there's going to be a Volume 2. And replace or add to the basic game rules. Okay, so this just extends the basic game in the sense of scope as opposed to years, I believe. One question I have, and maybe I will learn this on my own, is do both expansions, can they both be played together, right? Can you start with the before the invasions with the Into the East map on there, which is the main thing, is a big old map. Looks like some new nations or whatever. Yep, looks like the other one. But it's going to go French upside down, yep. And then looks like 4 new nations, the Guptas. So it looks like sort of the Latinized version and then the English version of the place. And they're in India, so I guess this is going to extend all the way to India as I expected. The Gok Turks. The Kadarites. Yeah, I'm not too familiar, well, I'm not familiar at all with these peoples. I've heard of the Guptas. Okay, more of these. Markers for these factions, and here's the map. So let's go ahead and set this puppy up. Okay, here we are. The Persian Gulf here, the Sinus Persicus. I like the flavorful or historical names. So yeah, sorry for the glare here, but this is the Persia I'm familiar with. You know, that sort of shape here, touching up with India and what would have been, I guess, Afghanistan, or what would become. Interestingly, you know, it butts up against the Mediterranean map. Interestingly, the provinces go from like really tiny and detailed to just like big blobs. I don't know if that's just lack of research and knowledge, or like the terrain here just makes more sense. It's like wide open, empty spaces at this time. Guessing yes, since Western Persia, which I think is more populated at the time, is detailed. Yeah, interesting. And then looks like little spots here for diplomacy type, you know, in events. Okay, so that extra room, cool. Got a place to put your cards. So this is a big map, man. It's I don't have a big table, but I can fit it. Now, can I fit all the other stuff? It's unlikely. Yeah, man, this is very pretty. Okay, and got looks like India. Well, got a little bit of India, and then it's abstracted a bit here. It looks like there's a little Central Asia abstraction. Did Rome have those? Yeah. There's East Persia, so I bet that's not applicable with the expansion. All right. Well, anyway, this is way too long as it is. Looks like a really neat game. On Board Game Geek, I'm embarrassed to say I declared I will not buy this game because of the issues that seemed to have been coming up a lot. One of them was like not being able to see the regions. It's not an issue. I saw some typos on some cards, which annoys me, but they didn't look, the ones I saw didn't look game changing. There are a lot of typos apparently in other areas, like on counters, on player aids, which I find highly annoying. Like, I don't know why, how that happens. Like, just poor management, I guess. I don't know. But the topic and the design look so interesting. I changed my mind and got it. And it's an expensive game, so hopefully I won't regret it. So yeah, I'm gonna figure out how to play this, and I'll probably do a playthrough. Maybe the playthrough would be one of the smaller scenarios, like the Anglo-Saxon scenario where the Anglo-Saxons are invading England. But maybe the big one, who knows? So stay tuned. And he might stay tuned for a long time, because I haven't found time to film in, I don't know, 7 months maybe. So we'll see if I can pull it off. Hey, if you watched this far, thanks for watching.